To get started, I want to tell you how I played a trick on my boss. So, my boss and I have a recurring weekly meeting where we are expected at the beginning of the meeting to just get things warmed up, hear a safety share. Someone is picked at random to share a safety tip with everyone else at the meeting. More often than not, the safety tip is related to working construction or engineering in the building industry. Now, it might just be me, but no one really wants to volunteer to give a safety share. So, at the beginning of each meeting, after the safety share is given, there is a little wheel of fortune that's spun. And the person who is lucky enough to win the spinny wheel game gets to do the safety share the following week. Now, my boss and I were not assigned the safety share for the next meeting. However, I decided to, at the end of the meeting, volunteer my boss, knowing I wouldn't be on next week's meeting, to do the safety share, trying to be a little cheeky about it. I thought it would be funny if he got back from his trip and had to squeeze in a safety share and didn't know that I quote unquote volunteered him. Everybody thought it was really funny that I volunteered my boss to give the next week's safety share. When he came back from his trip, I did own up to the fact that I volunteered him. And he told me he had a safety share he was very excited to give to the group. However, it wasn't quite ready, so he's going to have to rush it. And I didn't know exactly what he was going to cover, but he had been planning it for a while. So I decided I would jump onto this meeting just to hear it at the beginning. I jumped on plenty early, so those who set up the meeting knew that was why I was on the meeting, to hear the safety share, and then I was going to jump off. Well, my boss surprised me with an excellent safety share that follows a foundation. He didn't come up with it originally, and he cited his sources, but basically, he said, imagine an XY grid, and imagine that the X axis represents riskiness. The further you go positive, the riskier something is. And if you're in the negative side of the X axis, whatever lives over there is not risky at all. And when I say risky, I mean risky to your well-being, be it physical, mental, spiritual, etc. And on the y-axis, we have scary. Anything that's negative on the y-axis is not scary at all. And anything that's positive on the y-axis would be scary. Such a coordination system would look like this, but we could make that look spookier. There we go. If you're listening to the audio only, I'm going to have some visuals on the video component that gets posted on YouTube and Rumble. Now, the gist of the safety share was, if something is scary, it's supposed to help us realize that it's probably risky. So something that is risky and scary correlates with how our brain is taking a shortcut to help us better understand our exposure to undue risk. Our fear response is supposed to help us avoid things that are risky to our well-being. And my boss said that things that are both risky and scary, we really don't have to worry too much about. What we need to focus on are the things that are risky but not scary, and scary but not risky. He gave the example that flying on an airplane is something that can be very scary, but statistically isn't a major risk to you. The vast majority of airline flights here in the United States are incredibly safe. And given this was a construction meeting, he said something that isn't very scary for someone working on a construction site would be being on a ladder. However, the number one cause for someone on a construction site to go to the ER is falling off a ladder, which means that climbing up and down ladders is something that is risky, but not scary to the average construction worker. The point being, those on the call need to be extra cognizant when working on a ladder and being extra cautious because they naturally don't see it as scary anymore. While on this meeting, I figured this could be a brilliant way to separate stuff in our financial lives that appear scary, but really don't have a lot of risk involved, and talk about the financial decisions almost everybody makes that don't seem scary because everyone's doing them, but they expose us to undue risk. And that is what inspired today's main topic.